You mentioned the standard, and I want to go back to this because I think a lot of our listeners are struggling with replicating themselves. You are, by any measure, a master of your craft. I'll say it, you won't, but I will, and recognize the world over for that as a master fitter, first and foremost. Somehow you had to duplicate yourself. And your answer to my question, how did you replicate the standard? You said, well, it started with me, working below market wages and really understanding the craft for 15 years. I get that. But go further for me, because there are lots of experts, chefs, graphic designers, writers, photographers who are brilliant at what they do, but can't get other people to be as good as them or even close to as good as them. So how did you get other fitters to kind of get close to how good you are? Like, what was, like, specifically, what did you do?
So the specifics on it, I think, come down to ultimately the people that we try to hire. Their, sort of EQ rather than IQ was much more appealing to me. There was, lots of people who, I think were maybe from the offset better, more experienced fitters, but I think the team of people that I always wanted to build had to first and foremost have very, very high sort of, EQ. So when it comes to their customer, their ability to relate to a customer, I can't teach you to be a good person. I can't teach you to do the right thing when the wrong thing is right in front of you. I can teach you what this shaft does with that head at that length and how we build the clubs. I can teach you all of that stuff. And there's ways in which we've done that at our very first store, our first main store, our flagship fitting location here in Toronto. I positioned myself in the middle bay of 3. I designed the facility to be different from our first facility, which was 3 closed rooms. This facility I made an open concept, so I could always be fitting my clients with my two other sort of trainees either side of me, so that both I could talk to my client, they could hear me, and I had an ear either side of me to hear them. So I was able to multiply things that way always. And I would say that was one of the most successful things that we've done. And then, so far rolling out that model as we grew.
I love that. Because there's nothing better than learning from the person while you're in situ, when you're doing the work yourself. How did you evaluate people's EQ? I mean, was there a question you asked in a job interview? Was there a psychometric test that you had everybody do? Like, what was your way to measure that?
There was a lot of question, and there was a lot of sort of analysis of what would you do in this scenario? What would you do in that scenario?
What was your favorite question?
We would always present a question that was for the benefit of the company versus the benefit of the client. And if somebody ever leaned towards the decision to make a decision for the business over the decision for the client, I would never favor that person or that sort of moral compass. For me, our business was always had to be, we always had to present ourselves a customer service centric company that fitted golf clubs. And that always came first. So as long as they had a customer service sort of mind with them, we could always sort of teach them sort of other things. And the group of people we had, I started with 3 guys that have worked with me before. So I knew I had a good foundation of experience with them. And then after that, we just brought in people that, again, as we assessed them, had a very, very emotionally high intelligence.